What's happening, everyone? Nick here from TV Box Top with another TV Box review. Today's TV Box is sponsored by Topleo, the manufacturer of the new i96 line of boxes. Top of their list is the new i96 Pro, and this is an Amlogic S905X4 Android 11 model built to deliver quality performance and entertainment features. So up next you have my in-depth review and live demonstrations, so stay tuned. Welcome back. In this package, you have your standard TV box contents, which includes the TV box model itself, one infrared remote control, one HDMI cable, a 5V 2A DC power adapter, and a user manual. Its design and connecting ports consist of one HDMI input, one RJ45 Ethernet LAN port, one optical audio port, one AV port, an IR extender port, and the DC power input to its rear. To the side, it has one USB 3.0 port, one USB 2.0, and a micro SD card reader. At the front, it has an LED display, and below there are no ventilation holes. So I'll set this up and continue. So I'm back and I'm connected to my 4K TV and capture card for recording. The startup process features a simple i96 animation followed by the Android launcher. The launcher is somewhat different in that it features these large icons that cannot be changed, and it has no shortcuts bar. It features a live wallpaper where it cycles through a couple of preset images that does not have an app or wallpaper feature to change them. Also, it does not feature a navigation bar or status bar, so I will have to install the menu button alternative navigation bar in a moment. This firmware offers features such as 4K display up to 59.94 Hz, HDR display with the option to set it to adaptive HDR. This means that it only activates when you play an HDR video. It has HDMI CEC options, surround sound audio options, and 54 various languages to choose from. There is no root switch, built-in screen rotation, hardware monitor, power key definition options, navigation bar or status bar options. For pre-installed apps, these are what come pre-installed. You have the AM player, which is designed to play AV1 videos. You have the KD media player, which is the Kodi media player. You have the official version of Miracast, Netflix, Google Play services, 2 streaming applications, and YouTube. So let's have a look at its system and hardware information. Its manufacturer is Droid Logic, and it has 4GB of DDR3 RAM and 32GB of internal storage. There is also a 2GB 16GB, a 4GB 64GB, and a 4GB 128GB model. Its Bluetooth version is 4.1. Its Amlogic S905X4 quad-core CPU is an ARM Cortex A55 CPU clocked at 2.0 GHz, configured in 32-bit mode, which means it can only run 32-bit apps and games. For display and graphics, the GPU component of the SoC is the Mali G31 graphics processor with OpenGL ES version 3.2 support. On the network, it shows that it has 5 GHz dual-band Wi-Fi support. Its operating system is Android 11 Red Velvet Cake, and this firmware is rooted. On the devices, it shows that the Mali G31 has Vulkan version 1.1 support. For cooling, it uses a 3mm cooling pad between the CPU and the 1.5 inches wide heatsink, which sees it idle around 65 degrees Celsius in the absence of cooling vents. For decoders, it comes with Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, DTS HD, AV1, HEVC, and VP9 decoders. These decoders facilitate the playback of 4K HDR, Dolby Vision, and AV1 videos, and videos with Dolby and DTS surround sound formats. So that's its system and hardware information. For certification and protection, the firmware is not fully Google certified, as it shows that it only has Google Widevine Level 3 with no HDCP protection. With this level of certification, services such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime Video will be restricted to basic 480p, even if you have an HD account. The required level is Widevine Level 1 with HDCP 2.2 or 2.3 protection, which protects the outgoing HDMI signal from being recorded, resulting in piracy. You cannot change this manually, and it can only be granted by the manufacturer in a new firmware running on Android TV OS, as that's the new requirement by Google for streaming devices. On boxes running on the mobile version of Android such as this one, users usually prefer the firmware to be rooted, which gives them access to the core root files of the system. Root access is not required for streaming movies and playing Android games, but it's needed for certain apps such as the menu button alternative navigation bar, kernel auditor, and some gamepad keymapping apps to work. Here the root checker app shows that it's rooted, so you have access to the core root files of the system. However, it does not have a root switch, which means you cannot make the firmware unrooted. For watching YouTube videos, the i96 Pro plays YouTube videos in 4K HDR quality, both from the Android TV version and the Smart YouTube TV version. On both apps, the HDR feature icon was triggered on my TV while playing videos. On the Smart YouTube TV version, you also get the option to play 4K HDR videos in AV1 format. For screen mirroring and casting your mobile devices in HD, it comes with the official version of Miracast. However, once you open the app, it disconnects from your Wi-Fi and it's non-functional, so I advise that you use the AirScreen app instead. When it comes to the Play Store, the i96 Pro is limited in what apps are available. This happens when the manufacturer uses a limited version or a mini version of open gaps, resulting in certain apps not being compatible or available for install. This means that you would have to sideload some of your favorite apps and games. For customizing your launcher, the i96 Pro is compatible with your favorite alternative launchers. However, seeing that the Play Store is limited, you would have to sideload most of them. This is the Nova 7 launcher with all features working, and you can even use custom wallpapers. However, live wallpapers don't work. Together with your custom launcher, you can also install the menu button alternative navigation bar. However, the recent apps feature is not working on this launcher. For screen orientation to portrait mode, I installed my favorite screen rotation app, and it does not work as screen rotation is not supported in this firmware. I will now play my usual list of 4K HDR videos in TS, MKV, MP4 and AV1 formats, and what we are looking for is a smoothness of playback and the HDR feature triggering on my TV, with the HDR feature on the box set to adaptive HDR. For this demonstration, I'm using the default movie player app on the box.
And only a win for Barca would be enough, because it would give them the same number of points as Atletico, but the head-to-head goal difference
So the video played smoothly using the default movie player. It played all the formats including AV1, and the HDR feature was triggered on my TV for each video. To test its surround sound audio capabilities, here I have it connected to my Sony 7.1 audio receiver, and I will play a list of videos encoded with Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, DTS HD Master Audio, Dolby Surround, and Dolby True HD audio formats. For this test, I'm using the included AM player, as all other players I've tried cannot successfully read all the formats.
This is Dolby Atmos, the world's first object-based cinematic audio. With powerful moving audio that transcends from channels to moving around you with pinpoint accuracy.
So this test reveals that it can play and output Dolby Atmos, DTS Neural X, and Dolby Surround audio formats. It cannot output DTS HD Master Audio, DTS-X, and Dolby True HD. For expandable storage and converting SD cards to shared internal storage, I inserted a 64GB SD card and successfully formatted it to shared internal storage. I also attempted a 2TB SD card, but the formatting process failed. To test the stability of its Bluetooth, I paired my Bluetooth gamepad and the connection is stable. And I will now use it to play some Android games to test its graphics rendering performance. I will also use the Panda Gamepad Keymapping apps to map my gamepad buttons to touchscreen functions. And I will also monitor for overheating.
Fight!
So with its CPU clocked at 2.0 GHz and with Vulkan GPU support, it produces great graphics in Android games. I got gamepad keymapping apps to work due to the fact that the firmware is rooted. However, due to the lack of cooling vents below the box, you cannot apply a cooling fan. This results in temperatures rising into the 90s during gaming. But please note This only occurs during gaming and not during regular use such as streaming movies and TV shows, where it maintains in the 60s. And to close things off, let's take a look at its benchmarks. To benchmark its RAM copy speed and internal storage read and write speeds, the A1 SD app clocked its RAM copy speed at 3,507 MB per second, its internal storage at 123 MB per second read speed and 44 MB per second write speed. The speed test performed on its Wi-Fi bands and Ethernet LAN port based on a network speed of 250 megabits per second shows that the 5 GHz band fell slightly below with a speed of 233 megabits per second, which is 89%. The 2.4 GHz band averaging around 64 megabits per second is 25%, and the LAN port averaged around 89 megabits per second, which is 35%, confirming that it's not a gigabit LAN port. As shown in the system and hardware information, the Amlogic S905X4 CPU is clocked at 2.0 GHz, and to directly benchmark its processing power, the Geekbench 4 CPU benchmarking app delivered a score of 798 single-core and 2190 multi-core. To benchmark its Mali G31 GPU, it scored 5,910 in the Ice Storm Extreme test, 584 in the Slingshot test, and 359 in the Slingshot Extreme test with Vulkan support. These scores are just about what we would get with most Amlogic S905X4 models. And in the Antutu Comprehensive Benchmark, it scored 77,652. So that's the last of the benchmarks. Let's now see where it places on the chart. So, I've entered the scores on my rankings chart, and the Topleo i96 Pro is at position 46 in reference to Antutu benchmark scores, which is a couple of spaces down from the rest of S905X4 models. I gave it a 3 out of a 5-star rating based on its features and drawbacks, as you will see in a moment. You can view this chart on my blog, see the link in the description below this video. In a summary, the Topleo i96 Pro is another Amlogic S905X4 model with quality hardware. However, the absence of cooling vents below the box and the limitation of the Play Store due to the version of open gaps used affects the greatness of this box. Without adequate ventilation, temperatures frequently rise into the 80s on normal activity and into the 90s during 3D gaming. This results in throttling, affecting the performance of this box, hence its benchmarks. And in using the mini or limited version of open gaps instead of the full version results in missing apps and features that users enjoy. So viewers, there you have it. That was another Amlogic S905X4 model review. So if you are interested in this particular model, you won't find it anywhere on Amazon, AliExpress or retail stores. You can only find it for purchase at the link in the description below this video. If you are on your mobile phone, click the down arrow below the video to reveal the description area. There are many Android box manufacturers and many brands to go along with them, and I always try my best to bring you the best and latest models. So if you appreciate the work that I do here, I only ask that you click the thumbs up button below this video and the notifications bell next to it, as in doing so provides monetary support to this channel and provides the means for me to acquire new TV boxes for review. So thanks in advance for your support. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Stay tuned and see you in the next one.